Have you ever noticed how easy it is to talk about Jesus and how hard it is to actually know who he is? Have you ever wondered, is that really who Jesus is? You're not alone. This series is called Jesus Playbook, and it's an invitation to slow down and look again at who Jesus really is, what he came to do, and why so many on the margins felt safe to be with him. This isn't about defending Christianity or fixing anyone's theology. It's about returning to Jesus to himself. It's about rediscovering who he is. Because before there were churches or institutions, there was a person, a living, breathing man, God named Jesus, who walked dusty roads, ate meals with ordinary people, and loved people the religious had written off. If you have been burned or unsure what to do with faith, then this space is for you. Let's start in the book of John. John 1:14 says this, "The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us." That one line changes everything. Jesus didn't stay distant. He didn't shout out instructions from heaven or send a bird to show us how to do things. No, he moved into the neighborhood. Jesus is God with us. Not God just above us, not God against us, but the God who comes close, the God who draws near. In Luke 4, Jesus stands up in the synagogue or in the sanctuary, and he reads from Isaiah, and he says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor, freedom for the captives, recovery of sight for the blind, and release for the oppressed." Then he says something bold. "Today, this scripture is fulfilled in your hearing." In other words, this is what I'm about. This is who I am. Jesus declares his mission. Jesus defines himself not by power or title or performance, but by presence and by restoration. The people most drawn to Jesus weren't the religious insiders, even though that's who it should be. But it was the ones on the outside. It was the sick, the doubters, the sinners, those who were overlooked. And the people most threatened by Jesus were the religious, those who had the most to lose if the system was disrupted. Jesus wasn't building a brand for himself. He was building a table. He wasn't protecting the institution. He was restoring people. And that's important for us because many of us might feel we were taught a different version of Jesus, and a version that doesn't feel anything like this. If Jesus has ever felt unsafe to you, I want you to hear this clearly. The real Jesus doesn't shame you for your questions. He doesn't rush your healing. He isn't turned away by your grief or your anger. He definitely doesn't turn away from your mess. I want to pause here and invite you to reflect. You might even want to take a deep breath. Just take in this Jesus. Ask yourself, who was Jesus presented as in my story? What was the story I heard when it comes to Jesus? And what would it feel like to encounter Jesus without fear or pressure? You don't have to answer it out loud or in the comments. You don't even have to answer it perfectly, but just notice what comes up. Notice the emotions. Notice the responses that you are feeling to that question. We're not here to judge. We're not here to shame or have perfect answers, but we're here to rediscover and re-encounter the Jesus as he is meant to be encountered. Because who we believe Jesus is shapes how we believe God sees us. If Jesus is harsh, we hide. If Jesus is distant, we strive. But if Jesus is compassionate, if Jesus is present, we can finally exhale. We can finally take a deep sense of relief because that is a Jesus we feel open with. That is a Jesus we feel safe with. And this series is about letting Jesus reintroduce himself to you. If this resonated with you today, I want you to know something. You don't have to explore this alone. You don't have to answer these questions alone. We have a free community called the Ravens Collective, a space for people just like you, people who feel like they're on the outskirts, the margins. They've been told a different version of Jesus and they're figuring it all out again. It's a space to talk honestly about faith, healing, and Jesus without pretending, without pressure. You'll find the link below to access this free community. Next week, we're talking about why Jesus consistently moved toward the outcasts. And we're going to name a few of these outcasts and what that encounter looks like and what it can mean for us today. Wherever you are in your journey, just know you are welcome in here. Grace and peace, and I'll see you next week.